Welcome to the third and final part of my conversation with Shane Bunnag about Chariot of the Sun. In this section, you'll hear Shane's recommendations for other related reading. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below the video. Welcome to the third and final section of my conversation with Shane Bunnag about his book, Chariot of the Sun. If you didn't catch the first two parts, please do check those out first, where you'll hear Shane talking in detail about the book, about the history of Thailand, and a number of other really interesting topics. But in this part, Shane, can you give us some recommendations for further reading on anything related? I don't know what you've got up your sleeve, whether it's Thailand related or to do with history. So yeah, fire away.
I have a bunch of things I've written out. Well, I can start with, I'm a big fan of Italo Calvino, and I really like his approach to writing generally, but one book that really helped me, and I think would help anyone trying to write, coming from a kind of non-writing background, was his 6 memoirs for the next millennium.
Okay,
and they were a series of lectures that he was delivering at Harvard University on literature, and he runs through different topics like lightness, quickness, exactitude, visibility, multiplicity. And it's a short book and it's fantastic. I mean, his passion for literature is immense and it's a really interesting book, but I used it as a kind of manual for writing. So I recommend it. I also say of his works, everyone should read. I mean, I think in this sort of exotic sphere where I am, but certainly Invisible Cities is a beautiful book. And If on a Winter's Night, Traveller is also a must because it's so playful. So you hear, I mean, I'm not going to try and summarize them, but I recommend those. From Sebald, again, I don't want to you can summarize Sebald for me if you want to. I'm not good at doing that, but certainly I mean, I love all of the things I've read of his, but I'd say particularly Rings of Saturn, Vertigo, and The Emigrants. It's a beautiful, melancholic, sentimental journeys with images. I mentioned Georges Perec during our talk, so there's, I mean, I love his work, but I mentioned W, and he also, his shorter works are very interesting. He wrote this piece called Rue Villain, which was about the street where his parents had lived, and it's actually not far from where I am here. And so I walk past there once in a while. And what he did is he was going past and just recording all the changes that were happening to the street where his grandparents had lived, where his parents were, over the years until the street was finally knocked down and made into a tenement building. So it's quite moving, and he's a beautiful writer and thinker. And he was also in a creative writing group called Ulipo with Italo Calvino. So there's a connection there. I like another inspiration, but I also really like Vladimir Nabokov's short stories. And there's one called First Love, which is kind of about the nature of memory. He's interesting in that he's, was forced to leave Russia when he was a young man because of the revolution, and a lot of his writing is somehow recreating spaces that don't really exist anymore. So he's adrift, and I felt an affinity with him. Thailand, I became a little bit obsessed with everything that Chris Baker and Pasuk Phongpaichit done. They're academics, they're a couple. They've done translations as well as histories. So on the histories, their history of Ayutthaya is a must read. And the translations, Kun Chang, Kun Pan, which is a Thai classic, is a very good illustration of how things don't really change. And the Thai mentality is very much alive in, I don't know, was it the 1500s or something, as much as it is today.
The Siam Society, which was recorded on that book. It's the two of them, but he does talking basically. So I will link to that below. Introduction. And
also I really loved the stories from the Thai Jataka, I think it's called From the 50 Jataka. Also just wild, like the level of imagination and the difference of storytelling is fantastic. So, if ever anyone thinking that Thailand's a void somehow in terms of its storytelling output, and you can really just look at these. And these, of course, in Thai, there'll be all sorts of other things. I'm just talking about the English language things. Also on history front, I'm a fan of David Wyatt, and that does play into the book, but his short history of Thailand and his studies in Thai history should be read by everyone right away. I'm going to give a plug to my family. My grandmother, who features in my book, her pen name was Tula Chandra, and she was quite a famous translator. She did a English to Thai translation, The Red Badge of Courage, which I think was set reading for Thai students for years, might still be. And she also translated The Four Rains by Kukrit Pramod, and Prisoner, which is a sort of archetypal Thai rom-com. And one of, these are the big works of Thai 20th century literature, but she's in there. My uncle Tej's book on Thai diplomacy is fun. It doesn't sound it, but it is. And my dad's also a writer. So has a book of short stories called Fragile Days, one of my favorite, and a novel called Slow Steps to Love.
Okay.
And then I can continue. You want to?
Plenty to keep us going with your family alone. Do carry on if you've got more, yeah.
Yeah, no, and just things mentioned. So your works by, check out Agnes Varda, Chris Marker. So Agnes Varda's Beaches, Chris Marker's Sans Soleil. And the final we didn't get to talk about, but I had intended to, was a photographer called Boris Mikhailov, who's still alive. He's very old. He's from Kharkiv. And he did a lot of work on the post-Soviet period, where he was trying to find, I suppose he was looking for the imprint of history on the individual. So he was taking photographs, quite grotesque photographs of street kids and alcoholics and people with deformity, but he's looking at that way that there's something bodily about these kind of abstract concepts. So, yeah.
Well, that sounds interesting. Okay. Brilliant. Well, thanks for such a great range of recommendations, plenty to keep Thailand enthusiasts going, and plenty more generally as well. So some great recommendations. Thank you. And thank you for joining me. It's been a great discussion, been great to have you on and to hear you talk about Chariot of the Sun and these wider issues as well. So thank you so much. It's been great having you.
Thank you. Yeah, enjoyed it. Yeah.